right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I wanted to focus in on a team that the Jets could potentially mirror from years and years ago, right? And it's not some sort of intentional thing, we need to play like this team or anything like that, but just by coincidence. And it's the 2015-2016 Buffalo Bills, led, ironically enough, by Rex Ryan and current Jets backup quarterback Tyrod Taylor. But before I dive into it, I quickly wanted to say that I joined up with peopleguest.com. And what's really cool is if you click the link down below in the description box, what's going to happen is you'll make a free account. Every week, you can join the Pro Football Clash, right, which is basically like the NFL Pick'em. It will tally your results week by week by week. And we'll have winners, we'll have like the top three, and you can join specific communities. So I know Matt O'Leary's in there, Ryan, Jets Talk 24/7, Greenbeam, and then you have the JC community, right? The Jetscentral community. So it's like all four different communities are going to be going like head to head. Which community comes out on top for the for the weekly pick'em and whatnot. So again, link is listed down below in the description box. Let's talk about the 2015 Buffalo Bills. And admittedly, right, I do want to say like, oh yeah, the Eagles from last year or the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl from a couple years ago. But just objectively speaking, for some reason, those two Bills teams stand out as like a pretty good comparison in my opinion. So let's start it from the top, right? Both teams are led by defensive-minded head coaches. Rex Ryan with the Bills, Aaron Glenn with the Jets. The goal is to finish the season as a top 10 defense. You're not going to hire a defensive-minded head coach for him to roll out the 28th, the 30th ranked defense. He's just going to sit idly by having no problems with that. No, the defensive-minded head coaches got these jobs because of their good defenses. The plan is top 10 defense, especially here with the Jets, right? You go back to that Bills team as well. There are a lot of veterans, a lot of proven players on both defenses. That's the goal. Can we be a top 10 defense? On offense, the primary focus, can we be a top 5 rushing attack? Right? Can we hammer that home? I'm talking yards, I'm talking attempts. We're going to keep the football on the ground. We're going to play good defense, try to take the ball away, limit touchdowns, limit points, get stops, and run the ball on offense, shortening the games, if you will. We've heard it a million times surrounding this Jets team. Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, Justin Fields with his legs. I mean, that was one of the biggest points of drafting Armand Membu at right tackle in the first round. It's going to help this run game. You're going to fix the last piece that you need to fully fulfill the offensive line. We're solid pretty much everywhere else. If Tippmann can get the snaps handled, I feel fantastic about the offensive line. Really, really good about it, especially in run blocking, right? John Simpson's coming back from injury. Olu's going to continue to grow. You really feel good about the offensive line. And if you go back to that Bills team, it was kind of the same identity, right? Veterans on the offensive line, proven players on the O-line. We're going to have this three-headed rushing attack between LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Williams, Tyrod Taylor on the ground. And so where do the Bills finish in the overall rushing statistics? Well, they were number 2 in rushing attempts. They were first in touchdowns. They were first in rushing yards, and they were also first in yards per attempt. So the Bills went out and did exactly what they needed to do when it came to rushing the football. What's the point of that, right? Number one, you're taking the pressure off the quarterback position. If you are that successful on the ground, you're number 1 in rushing yards. You're number 1 in rushing touchdowns. You're number 2 in rushing attempts. Chances are you're not going to be in a lot of 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 18. The 3rd and long is like the worst possible position to be in as an offense. You do, like, if you talk to offensive coaches, we cannot consistently, you can convert every now and again, but that's not where you want to be. You want to be in those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. That's the sweet spot. So chances are, if you're that successful on the ground, you're going to be in a lot of 3rd and shorts, while at the same time, you're minimizing the catastrophic 3rd and long, which in turn helps at the quarterback position. When you're that effective on the ground too, of course, it's going to help the defense out because you're resting them. 10-minute drive, 9-minute drive. The defense is chilling on the sidelines. I think you see defenses kind of fall off when the offense is consistently going 3 and out, which is why I think you don't really see a lot of like the full-on like air raid styles at the NFL level. Defenses are just too good. You can't risk going 3 and out with 3 straight incompletions, and you look up at the clock and you had a 26-second drive. and now the defense has to trot back on the field. That's not really a consistent formula for success. So by keeping the ball on the ground and the clock is running, you're shortening the game. The defense is resting the entire time. You're also forcing the opposing defense to tackle. You're wearing them down. You're beating them down over time. I think the idea is, okay, by the time the fourth quarter hits, midway through the fourth, they're not going to be as explosive. They're not going to be as eager. They're not going to be as powerful. They're not going to be as quick to the football as they were midway through the first quarter, because they've had to be able to tackle these guys, this rotation of backs, rotation of ball carriers for the entire game, trying to bust through that offensive line as well. So I think it does a lot of really good thing. It's kind of like football 101, right? Why is running the football good? Now, it doesn't just stop there. Both teams took a chance on highly mobile quarterbacks. Justin Fields with the Jets, Tyrod Taylor with the Buffalo Bills. Up to that point, Tyrod was just an expiring free agent from Baltimore and was like, okay, we don't really know much about his game. We know he has a really strong arm and we know he's really mobile, but there's some question marks. With Justin Fields, we know he's really mobile. We know he has a strong arm, but there's been some question marks. Aaron Glenn obviously has that connection coaching against Justin Fields. Justin Fields actually doing pretty good things against the Aaron Glenn defense back with Detroit. So it's kind of like this, you can tell like there's a glimmer in the eye of these defensive-minded coaches that want that mobile quarterback that they've either been around or have seen up close and personal. It just adds that extra element against the defense. I always think it's interesting listening to defensive-minded coaches talking about what they hate playing against, and vice versa, right? Offensive coaches, like listening to like Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, what they don't like preparing against defensively. And so chances are, if you have a defensive-minded head coach and you're rolling out this kind of unproven option at the quarterback position with, again, fantastic mobility, you're not going to want a lot of turnovers. If you're the Ravens, if you're the Chiefs, the Lions, the Bills, the Bengals, you can afford to to turn the ball over. Josh Allen ends the game with 2 picks. Lamar Jackson, 1 interception, 1 fumble lost. Pat Mahomes, 2 to 3 picks, something like that. You could afford it because the offense is just so damn explosive. They could just get down the field really quickly and get back in the end zone, right? The whole idea is, utilizing these top 5 quarterbacks' talents, pushing the ball, allowing these guys to throw. Of course, there's going to be mistakes. I haven't seen a stat line like 50 touchdowns, 0 picks. What was the closest thing to a perfect season? That Nick Foles season with Philly all those years ago. No interceptions in the season. But again, a lot of times you see these defensive-minded head coaches come in and say, hey, can you just hold down the fort? Can you manage the game? Can you not turn the ball over? We're going to lose a ton of games this season if Justin Fields throws 2 picks a game. If we are, top 5, top 10 in the league in turnovers on the offensive side of the football, problems will arise. And you kind of feel like that was the message to Tyrod Taylor and the Bills at that time. We cannot turn the ball over. You think about Rex coming in to Buffalo from the Jets. Geno Smith, lots of picks early on. Mark Sanchez, a lot of head-scratching moments, picks, incompletions. You could tell that Rex, again, he had his blueprint. Run the ball, play good defense, don't turn it over, don't mess it up when it comes to the turnover battle. And that's exactly what Tyrod did, right? 20 touchdowns to 5 picks. Of course, you can say, okay, at times he is a bit of a check down king. Quickly to get to that read, 3rd and 8. Instead of even looking to the sticks, it's going right to the check down for a gain of 3. Like, there's drawbacks, right? I'm not saying it's a perfect formula, just again trying to point out the similarities here. But the focus: complete passes, don't turn it over. Complete passes, don't turn it over. If we're not beating ourselves on the offensive side of the football and we're playing that good defense on the defensive side of the football, the hope is by the time the fourth quarter hits, the opposition, they're going to be beaten down, they're going to be worn down, or maybe they're the ones throwing the pick. They're the ones muffing a punt, screwing up the game. Now we could capitalize. What this philosophy does, this structure, this football approach to the game, you're essentially saying, okay, if we handle business, if we are a successful running team, if we're not turning the ball over, if we're playing good defense, we're not only just shortening the game, but we're creating an environment to not see these big deficits. There's going to be a lot of close games if those three boxes are checked. And if we take a look back at that season, the Bills, again, 8-8, but five losses out of the 8 were only by one score. And it's not because they had the top 5 wide receiver and this absolutely elite coaching staff. It's because of the structure. They kept the ball on the ground. They were playing solid defense, not great defense, but solid defense, good enough defense. And their quarterback wasn't turning the football over. It just keeps you in the fight. It keeps you in the game. Now, the last point I did quickly want to make, typically with these running teams, you don't have a lot of star power. You don't have a lot of depth. You don't really have a lot of production at the wide receiver position outside of maybe one guy. And ironically enough, the Jets haven't really done a whole lot with wide receiver, right? Josh Reynolds being brought in, Lazard on the restructure, Arian Smith, who I'm really excited about, but it's really Garrett Wilson, and then there's a drop. And you kind of think, okay, Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor are going to be the two primary pass catchers, just a lot of people's guesses. And if you go back to that Bills team, same kind of deal, right? Sammy Watkins, 1,000+ receiving yards, Charles Clay at the tight end position, but nothing really else, right? Yeah, Robert Woods was a really effective player once he got traded to the Rams, but that season he had under 600 receiving yards. There just wasn't enough football to go around. There just wasn't enough passing to go around for all these different guys to get a lot of volume, a lot of overall success and production. So I think there is a lot of similarities here, and I think we can maybe look at that team. It's not 1-to-1, obviously, but it's just a good blueprint, right? Could the Jets find themselves in a lot of maybe one-score wins, one-score losses? A lot of situations where we're walking away from the game, we're making the recap videos, and we're talking about, man, Brees, Braylon, we really did a good job of keeping the ball on the ground, sustaining long drives, getting off the field on defense. Could this team be number 1 in rushing attempts to end the year? Could Justin Fields put up a season like Tyrod, where there was a lot of rushing yards, double-digit touchdowns, right? 20 touchdowns to 5 picks. Is that something Fields is capable of, where he's just taking care of the game, hurting defenses, utilizing his legs? So, yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. It's freaking game week. I cannot wait. Previews dropping soon. Anyway, thanks so much, and as always, go Jets.